This retrospective video was done after the death of General MacArthur on April 5th, 1964 in Washington, D.C. at the age of 84.
The man who has been called one of the greatest military geniuses in the history of the United States is dead. General Douglas MacArthur has succumbed after a long and valiant fight, a fight against death that he refused to accept. Thus ends the military career that spanned 52 years, a career that began as a dream in childhood at the knee of his father, who was also an Army general, a dream that led young MacArthur to West Point. In World War I, he became commander of the famous 42nd, the Rainbow Division. Called a natural-born soldier, he distinguished himself in the field and was decorated personally by General Pershing. He became Brigadier General MacArthur in 1920, Major General in 1925, and rose to full General and U.S. Chief of Staff in 1930. He closed out the first phase of his military career in 1935, when he retired from the U.S. Army to become military advisor to the Philippine government. The Secretary of War added an oak leaf cluster to his medal, and General MacArthur went into 6 years of comparative obscurity. He was recalled to active duty by President Roosevelt in 1941 and slipped from the clutches of the Japanese to take command of the U.S. Army in the Far East from headquarters in Australia. It was here he made his famous vow to the people of the Philippines, "I shall return." And return he did, as U.S. naval might moved in to bombard the islands after Jap naval power had been smashed. To General MacArthur, this must have been one of the most dramatic moments of the war in the Pacific, as U.S. troops once more set foot on the shores of his beloved Philippines. He had returned. The general's first concern was for the men he had been forced to leave behind and who had spent long years in Japanese prison camps. He personally went there to greet the men and to thank them for their courage and fortitude during their long ordeal. It was a day of rejoicing and laughter that wiped out the weeks and months and years of horror. Then came Hiroshima, the atom bomb, and the war in the Pacific was over. He was named Supreme Commander in the Pacific to receive the surrender of the defeated enemy. Aboard the battleship Missouri came General MacArthur's shining hour as he brooked no nonsense in directing the surrender ceremonies. The Emperor's palace no longer housed a Japanese god. General MacArthur brought the ways of Western democracy to Japan, and it took its place among nations. When war broke out in Korea, General MacArthur was named by President Truman to head the United Nations forces in this police action, as it was called. It was a frustrating war in all aspects, a war that created heroes and scapegoats, a war that was not lost but never won. General MacArthur, here with Sigmund Rhee, wanted to push the war to the borders of China. President Truman decorated him on one hand and then recalled him for his criticism of U.S. foreign policy. He came home a conquering hero to a New York reception that had been unprecedented in crowds and enthusiasm. Then to Washington to address a joint session of Congress, a rare honor to a man unique in the annals of modern-day America. He touched on the close of his 52 years as a soldier and ended his career in a proud uniform with a statement that can remain his epitaph.
When I joined the Army, even before the turn of the century, it was the fulfillment of all my boyish hopes and dreams. The world has turned over many times since I took the oath on the plain at West Point, and the hopes and dreams have long since vanished. But I still remember the refrain of one of the most popular barrack ballads of that day. which proclaimed most proudly that old soldiers never die. They just fade away. And like the old soldier of that ballad, I now close my military career and just fade away. An old soldier who tried to do his duty as God gave him the light to see that duty. Goodbye.
The nation's final salute to a great soldier. The honor guard brings the body of General Douglas MacArthur to the rotunda of the Capitol for state funeral honors from his countrymen who owe him so much. His son, Arthur MacArthur, escorts the general's tearful widow. The President of the United States follows. Cabinet members, justices of the Supreme Court, legislative leaders, and other dignitaries form a circle of mourners as the simple flag-covered coffin is placed in the center of the rotunda on the same spot where President Kennedy lay just 5 months ago. In the name of the people of the United States, President Johnson moves forward to place a wreath, a circle of red, white, and blue. With deep emotion, he bows his head in prayer. Then, tribute from the people. By the thousands they have waited, and now they offer a last farewell. 8,000 an hour filed through the Capitol. There is a murmured prayer, a furtive tear. Rarely has such a tribute been paid any man. The doors of the Capitol remain open throughout the long night, and never do the crowd cease to come in silent homage. The general will be buried in the MacArthur Memorial at Norfolk, Virginia, a city that he loved so well. In the annals of military history, his name will long live. General of the Army, Douglas MacArthur.